We are starting to go live. Wah, wah, wah. Everybody say hi, I'm going live. Okay, we're going to turn.
Schwebe, jump up.
And then just keep it steady. Yeah.
Welcome to the celebration of life of Gracie Rae and Philbin. My name is Roxanne, and my husband Nick and I are one of Gracie's godparents. Kate and Ian asked me to be the girls' godmother at our engagement party. Nick had always been the godfather since day one, but I arrived a little late on the scene. It was an absolute surprise and such an honor for me to step in as Gracie and Ella's godmother. We have shared some lovely memories with Gracie and Ella and the family, and memories that we'll both cherish for a lifetime. It is lovely to see so many people here today. Some are family, some are friends, and some of you have never met Gracie, but are here to support the family, and they really do appreciate it. Today we are here to remember Gracie and to reflect on her short but wonderful life. Children's of nature's way of telling the world that we need to continue. The young ones in our world can melt the hardest hearts, bring smiles to the sick and sad, and make us look forward to tomorrow with promise and hope. Children are supposed to live beyond our time. We are there when they come into the world. We don't plan to be there when they leave. They are our legacy. They're not supposed to be our past. So now, honoring and remembering the times we share with Gracie are special, because it's the way one keeps her light alive in our life. It takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to mourn one. You don't overcome the death of a child, but you learn how to live in different ways in the world and see the world around them and remind others what they have lost. I have a memory I'd like to share with everyone today. A while back, some friends and Kate and Ian and Ella and Gracie, we went to Baines Kloof. And Baines Kloof is one of the places that Gracie absolutely loved. Gracie likes games, just like me. And when you start playing a game with her, you can be sure the game is not going to end anytime soon. Well, this game started on Friday, and it continued way until the day that she left us. The game is, where is Gracie? Gracie would hide somewhere, and then after a few seconds would say, where is Gracie? And we all had to say, where is Gracie? Knowing exactly where she was either under the inflatable swimming pool, she was either hiding behind the couch, or she was hiding under a blanket. Now before we could say where she was, she had already screamed, I'm here, I'm here! She loved this game, and in so doing, made all of us love this game. I'm going to ask you, where is Gracie? And I would like everyone to shout out, where is Gracie? Where is Gracie?
Where is Gracie?
Gracie is eating sour worms. She's sitting on Opa's king chair. She's bossing everyone around, and Gracie is happy. And she wants all of us to be happy. What is your special memory with Gracie? Think about it. The place she has in your heart. It is your responsibility to keep her life alive through your memories and your stories. I'd like to welcome Morgan up. He's going to say a few words, followed by Gracie and his cousin Morgan, and then we're going to have a beautiful poem.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Charles Gaines writes this. No person can sum up the life of another. Life is too precious to be passed over with mere words which ring empty. Rather, it must remain as it is remembered by those who loved and watched and shared. For such memories are alive, unbound by the events of death and birth. And as living memories, we possess the greatest gift one person can give another. On behalf of Kate, Ian, and Ella, I'd love to welcome you here today. My name is Morgan. I've known Ian and Kate for quite some time, and I'm the lead pastor at South Point Church. I think that today we have a great opportunity to be able to, what was a short life, be able to honor Grace in a very special way. And I think that a whole bunch of you who are here today who have known Grace, who have gone through the process with Kate and Ian and family, but also some of you here today who maybe never met Grace. It's really just an amazing, amazing turnout to be able to really pay tribute to what I believe was a short life that had a very, very large impact on this world. Each of you here today have a memory of Grace. And as Charles Gaines writes, you have the greatest gift you can give someone else by sharing those memories with other people. That those memories are not bound by birth and death. That you, as you share those memories with other people, you're able to give them one of the greatest gifts. And gifts in themselves are meant to be given away. And as we're able to give those gifts to other people, as we share those memories, we're able to share the life that Grace lived with the people around us. We're here today, and we're here today to honor Grace. And while there are many ways to do that, I think there are three things that it's very important for each and every one of us to keep in mind in the hours that we spend together today, in the time that we're going to spend together going forward, the weeks and months, and the time to come as well. The first thing I think we need to do to honor Grace is to mourn. And that might sound like a really silly thing for me to say, but we live in a world where we're not given the permission to mourn, where we're not given the permission to cry. I stumble across this a lot in my line of work. I start talking to people, I ask them to share their story with me. You might have bumped into this as well, that people start telling their life story, they get to a moment in their life that they're sharing with you and they get choked up. And what's the first thing they say to you? They say, I'm sorry. We live in a world where we're not given the space to really feel what is going on inside each and every one of us, especially what's going on inside our hearts. And so I think one of the greatest things that we can do, one of the greatest things we can do is to be able to mourn in these moments. Jesus, in one of Jesus' most famous sermons, often referred to as the Sermon on the Mount, he says this amazing thing. He said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Jesus said, not only should we take the time to actually mourn, but in our mourning, we will, in fact, be comforted. And so we honor Grace by talking about it, by mourning in those moments, by taking the time to really experience what is going on as we've experienced this significant loss. The second thing I think we need to do to honor Grace is to rejoice. Rejoice in the life that she did live here on earth. Give thanks for the impact she had on each and every one of us. And in one way or another, each and every one of us have some story or some way that Grace has impacted us. And we should take time to rejoice in that. The third thing I think we need to do to honor Grace is to trust in God. As we gather here today, we can trust in God that there is in fact life after death. And that by trusting in His Son Jesus and His death on the cross for the payment of each and every one of our sins, which ultimately is grace, that we can trust that there is life after death. And in fact, through salvation, that we can trust today as we stand here that grace is with God. The Apostle Paul's letter to the church of Corinth says this, and he writes in that letter, is that to be away from the body is to be at home with the Lord. And so we trust today that grace is at home with the Lord. But our trust doesn't end there. I believe that grace would want each and every one of you to do more than just trust in God, that she's there. I believe that grace would want each and every one of you to trust God, to consider what are you going to do with the rest of your life. That the time you have left on this earth, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to trust in God for the decisions that you're going to make? Are you going to trust in God in those moments that you're going to go through life? There are some words that Jesus spoke while he was on this earth that John captures for us. He's talking about his death and how his ministry is not going to continue to be just around the Mediterranean, and it's going to go to the ends of the earth. And he says this, "I tell you the truth, that unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But its death will produce many more kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives." And I don't know if I've met someone who's had as much an impact on people as Grace in her few short years. But one of the things that I can say is that I hope that that verse is true, that even through this death, that we might believe and trust in God, that as that seed is planted, and that impact has been made on you or on many people around, that would produce more life, that would produce new things in people, that would produce new things around this earth. That as Jesus wrote, that we can trust in God through that as that seed is planted, that as that seed dies, it is able to produce more life along the way. And so with that in mind, that we honor grace through the way we mourn, that we honor grace through the way we rejoice, and we honor grace through the way that we trust in God, I want to try and be hopeful today. And whatever I might say today might not seem hopeful to anyone. What we've experienced is significant, and we really should take the time to be able to move through and experience all the emotions that come along with this. But I think that the time coming forward is a time of perseverance for each and every one of us. The weeks, the days, the months, the years coming are going to be perseverance. And the question I have is, well, what do we do when there's nothing we can do? That there's nothing we can change. I think if we all were honest, we would want this situation to have worked out differently. But what do we do when there's nothing that we can do? Sometimes our goal in a situation is to just get through something, right? When we experience something like this, we just want to get through it. If we experience some tough times in life, we just want to get through it. But you and I have both met people who have got something out of that situation. That as they've moved through a tough circumstance, they've moved through something that was devastating, they've got something out of that. And so, what can we do when there's nothing that we can do in these moments? The people who bring us the collection of writings that we consider to be the New Testament, they weren't people who didn't face any adversity. They faced a large amount of adversity. You read the history books, they've experienced all kinds of things, of torture and torment and all kinds of things. And in those moments, they ended up questioning them. Why is this happening? What is going on in these moments? In fact, the Apostle Paul is a really good example of this. Paul never actually met Jesus, started out his career as literally hunting down Christians to stamp out this movement that was rising up around Rome at the time. And he never met Jesus, but one day walking on the road to Damascus, and you might remember the story growing up, he has this encounter with God, and his whole life changes. In fact, he eventually becomes responsible for most of the modern day church that we have today. But as we read in these letters that he writes to people all over the world, we realize that he has this ailment. He has an illness of some sort. And it's never clear about what it is that he experiences or what ailment he faces. But at one point in his letters, he pleads to God to take it away from him. And yet God chooses in those moments not to. God chooses to not remove that from that. And Paul later found himself in prison. And honestly, he could have just sat there. He could have just waited it out. He could have just sat there and done nothing with it. But instead, he decides to start writing some letters. He chooses to continue to believe what he believes God has given him the opportunity to do. And he continues to write letters that in spite of his circumstances, in spite of his ailment or his illness, Paul persevered because he knew that God would do something, whatever he could do. That God would in fact do something with whatever he could do. Even though he was sitting in prison and he had this ailment, he could do something. And he was going to do that, and he trusted in God that God would do something with those moments that he did. And I'm sure Paul sat there wondering when this was going to be over, when it was going to end, how this was going to play out. But he sat there and he wrote letters. He wrote letter after letter after letter. And he had no idea who or what hung in the balance of what he decided to do in those moments. He had no idea that thousands of years later, billions of people would still be reading those very letters that he wrote while sitting in prison, that they would still be able to impact our lives, that there would still be information in those letters that we could apply to our lives on a daily basis to help us deal with all kinds of circumstances. He had no idea who or what hung in the balance. And so while the pain of loss does get easier to handle, it never truly goes away. The pain is still there, and at the moment the pain is frequent, but the gaps between the pain eventually increase and allow us all to be able to deal with that pain along the way. And so I would say to you today that when the pain rises up, when those emotions flood in, let them be. Experience the emotion, experience the fullness of whatever it is that you might experience in that. As I said earlier, the days, weeks, months, and years ahead are going to be a time of perseverance for all of us. But even though we might never hear or see the good that God is going to bring out of this situation, we can trust Him that He is going to bring something good out of this situation. And so on behalf of the Philbin family, I want to thank you again for being here today. I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to hand over to the other Morgan. But before he comes up, let me pray for us all. Father God, I know that for many of us this is devastating. In some ways it's discouraging. For some of us it's even defeating. It's defeating to the point that it feels like you've just crushed our world. But today, Father, I ask that you would allow us to believe that you are good because that's who you are. And that we might come to a deep understanding of how loved each and every one of us truly are by you. That even in the midst of this pain that we're experiencing right now, that we would know that we are loved deeply by you. Father God, thank you for the wonderful memories we each have of Gracie Rae. That we could rejoice in the life that she lived. And that as Charles Gaines writes, that those memories are not bound by birth and death. And that as painful as this loss is, I pray we would never underestimate who or what hangs in the balance of choosing to trust you as our perfect Heavenly Father. We pray all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Thank you everybody for coming today. Even though my time with Gracie was short, it was priceless. When we found out that Gracie was terminally ill, I had 5 very strong people with me. Those people are Katie, Ian, my mother, Ella, and Gracie. Even though Gracie is a child, she barely complained, which showed me that I take some things for granted, like Ubering to school in the mornings, going to bed at 8:30, not being able to play Fortnite. What she also showed me was an incredible strength and will to live right to the end. The strength that she has shown me was an incredible love for her and her family. Thank you so much, Gracie, for imparting this knowledge into me. And thank you, Ella, for always being happy and telling me about your dreams with Gracie. Thank you.
Good morning. Kate and Ian asked me to read a poem after the week.
Last night.
It's called The Brave Little Soul. Not too long ago in heaven, there was a little soul who took wonder in observing the world. He especially enjoyed the love he saw there, and often expressed this joy to God. One day, however, the little soul was sad, for on this day he saw suffering in the world. He approached God and sadly asked, "Why do bad things happen? Why is there suffering in the world?" God paused for a moment and replied, "Little soul, do not be sad, for the suffering you see unlocks the love in people's hearts." The little soul was confused. "What do you mean?" he asked. God replied, "Have you not noticed the goodness and the love that is the offspring of that suffering? For how people come together, drop their differences, and show their love and compassion for those who suffer. All their other motivations disappear and they become motivated by love alone." The little soul began to understand and listened attentively to God as God continued. The suffering soul unlocks the love in people's hearts, much like the sun and the rain unlocks the flower within the seed. I created everyone with endless love in their heart, but unfortunately most people keep it locked up and hardly share it with anyone. They are afraid to let their love shine freely, because they are afraid of being hurt. But a suffering soul unlocks that love. I tell you this, it is the greatest miracle of all. Many souls have bravely chosen to go into the world and to suffer, to unlock this love, to create this miracle for the good of all humanity. Just then, the little soul got a wonderful idea and could hardly contain himself. With his wings fluttering, bouncing up and down, the little soul excitedly replied, "I am brave, let me go. I would like to go into the world and suffer so that I can unlock the goodness and love in people's hearts. I want to create that miracle." God smiled and said, "You are a brave soul, I know, and thus I will grant you your request. But even though you are very brave, you will not be able to do this alone. I have known since the beginning of time that you would ask for this, and so I have carefully selected many souls to care for you on your journey. Those souls will help you create your miracle. However, they will also share in your suffering. 2 of these souls are most special and will care for you, help you, and suffer along with you, far beyond the others. They have already chosen a name for you." God and the brave soul shared a smile and then embraced. In parting, God said, "Do not forget, little soul, that I will always be with you. Although you have agreed to bear the pain, you will do so through my strength. And if the time should come when you feel you have suffered enough, just say the word, think the thought, and you will be healed." Thus, at a moment, the brave little soul was born into the world, and through his suffering and God's strength, he unlocked the goodness and love in people's hearts. For so many people dropped their differences and came together to show their love. Priorities became properly aligned. People gave their hearts. Those that were always too busy found time. Many began new spiritual journeys. Some remained lost. Some regained lost faith. Many came back to God. Parents hugged their children tighter. Friends and family grew closer. Old friends got together and new friendships were made. Distant family reunited. And every family spent more time together. Everyone prayed. Peace and love reigned. Lives changed forever, and it was good. The world was a better place. The miracle had happened, and God was pleased. Thank you.
Such a young, amazing human touched. Gracie was like a child to me. She brought so much joy into my life, from playing toys in my shower floor, and teaching me to wiggle my bum the right way. I love Gracie like my own. Before my daughter was born, she was my everything. She touched my soul, my heart in so many ways that no one will take away from me. I think I believe it's not to be sad at funerals, but to be able to get closure. And I hard to accept because I'm battling with it. That's the least. Ever since I've known Ian and Kate, they've been amazing friends and have taught me so much. And I'm really to thank for that. To my dearest friend Ian, we have been through a lot together, but I do believe this is the hardest one. But just remember, I'll always be there for you and your family, no matter what. You're an amazing father, and you should be proud of yourself. Kate, you are one of the most strongest women I know, and you are an amazing mother. Keep up the good work. Ella, you are the best well-mannered little young lady. You should be proud of yourself. I love you a lot. Kate and Ian, I hope in this all you can find closure and come to peace. I love you all so much. I will walk with Gracie my whole life, and I'm proud to wear this shirt and bracelet in honor of your life. Please, if you do not have a bracelet, please purchase a bracelet and a t-shirt if you won't regret it. Thank you all very much for coming and enjoy your afternoon.
Okay, what's going to happen now is we're just going to have somebody come to say our thanks. Where is Lucia? I can't see him.
You always have to make an entrance there.
I'd like to introduce myself. Good morning. My name is Lucia, and I am the cousin of Kate and Tammy. I'm here to say the thank yous. They've asked me not to cry. Promises sometimes gets broken, so I'll try my best. So this was written by Kate and Ian and the family, so when I say the words, it comes from them and not from me. So thank you. There won't be any swearing. They want to thank the Red Cross Oncology Unit for all the doctors, the nurses and the staff, especially Gracie's favourites, Dr. Mark, Sister Brown, Shannon, and Professor Davidson. From Pete's Pal Palliative Care, the entire team who has supported them and have allowed for Gracie to spend the last few weeks at home. And a special mention to Michelle, Tracy, Di, Teresa, and Angela. To Kate's Flower Girls, if you guys don't know who you are, it's all the beautiful ladies with the blue flowers in their hair. Thanks for stepping in and helping Kate throughout her entire journey. Thank you for being her support system and her best friend. Thank you for organizing Gracie's life celebration so magnificently well today. Page 2. There's a lot of pages. Gracie Rae's godparents, Arlene, Dave, Tessita, Nick, Roxy, and Ryan. Thank you for your dedication to our little girl. To Mike, thank you for being Ian's BFF and being at his side as we say goodbye. #bromance. Sue-Ann, John, and Isa Philbin for your constant support and encouragement. To Opa, boss Opa. What is your? Alec. To Opa and Nanny for your love, support, and patience this entire year, and for the rest to come. To Gail for graciously nursing Gracie and for bringing a lot of wine up until today and all the way to the end. To Kathy for being Ella's go-to person and loving her as if she was your own. To Learn and Play, Nicole and Zahn for supporting us as a family and always allowing Gracie to come to school and for always caring for her. To the parents, thank you very much and thank you for raising your children to treat ours with love, respect and kindness. To Gracie's cousins, Kyra, Morgan and Liam, you've made her life brighter. To Caitlin and Peter, for raising Gracie's best friend and being such great friends to us, teaching us to have fun and enjoy the little things. To Peter, thank you for being Gracie's best friend. Where's Peter? And for Ella, for being the coolest, most awesomest big sister. Your love for Gracie is unconditional and will always be. Gracie will always be in your heart. And all of your memories you will always carry with you as sisters. To Nettie, Bruce, Brendan, and Chloe, for your Wednesday dinners, bubbles, chats, and good times. Hopefully it doesn't end on Wednesdays. To Gail Breslin for being an angel, constantly allowing us to spoil our child. Where's Gail? Is she here? Not there. Thank you, Gail, on YouTube Live. Mark Zuckerberg, hashtag. Rob for holding my sister so she could hold me, and for looking after our family when we needed it the most. No way. We want to thank butlers and everyone who has contributed with platters and food and cupcakes and everything today. We also want to thank the Mama's Pay It Forward Foundation and to Tammy's sister, Kate. To Tammy, my big sister, sorry. No. Thank you for loving Gracie like she was your own kid.
Thank you for holding us, for feeding us, and attempting to keep us safe.
Thank you. And to all the great grandparents, Amadot, and Alma, Uma and Opana after. Step Opilana, raise your hands. All the great grandparents, thank you very much. Then Kate and Ian wants to thank all of the family and friends that have loved and supported them. To the 3,886 people that have followed the story from the beginning, who has loved, supported, and gave encouragement from across the globe. Gracie, you have definitely reached out to many more people than any of us would ever be able to do. To everyone, we want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for everyone for carrying her with you and celebrating her life for the rest of time. We all have a guardian angel with us. Here is this world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. So don't be afraid. Gracie, Gracie, I want to thank you for teaching me not to be afraid. So thanks. So let's give it some grace. Let's love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Let's hold ourselves to a standard of grace. We will not at all understand the mystery of grace, only that it meets us where we are, but does not leave us where it found us. So grace carried us here, and by grace we will carry on. There was a joke that I had to take out because it wouldn't have been appropriate. So I'm not going to say it. I can rephrase it and just basically what it was, that if we ever feel down, any of us, Grace had this cool little saying that I'll just rephrase because she got it right at the end. Meaning, if you feel down, just don't be a poof. So Grace, it was an honor and a privilege to have known you for your entire lifetime. Everyone's little superhero. Thank you very much.
Just some quick house rules. The female bathrooms are at the back to the right, and the male bathrooms are through two doors and again to the right, okay? What's going to happen now is we are going to go outside to give Gracie the amazing send-off that she deserves. Please can I ask that you allow family and close friends to leave first, and then everyone else can join afterwards. We do have bangles. If you've ordered a bangle, you can collect yours at the back. Then we also have some t-shirts. We don't have many left. This is all the stock that we do have now. It is running on an honesty box, okay? So please, adult t-shirts are 100 Rand and kids t-shirts are 70 Rand. If you would like to get one, please just pop your money in the honesty box. Yes. There is also a cash bar and there's champagne. If you'd like to buy a bottle of champagne, you're more than welcome to. We have snacks, and Butler's Pizza's also sponsored us pizza. We have a kids table, we've got kids party pack, we've got cupcakes. We want this to be happy. Okay, we want to celebrate the amazing little girl that Gracie is.
On the grass, darling.
Who has got? Oh, are you doing it?
Yes,
okay,
I'm
fantastic.
Okay.
Ah, cool.
Smoke bombs and drone.
It's going to go and get them.
I'm going to try and find Ella, okay? Oh my goodness, that's
That's what happens when Daddy's stressed. That's what happens. He didn't even have a wing. Oh my goodness. I just wanted to show Daddy so funny. You know? Yeah, figure things out. But yeah, it's good. I was now. First year, but now oh my goodness. Ella, come here.
When I asked you, you were like, oh yes, I know.
I was speaking to Carla. I was speaking to Carla, and Carla said, oh.
Anything waiting for the groom.
As Gracie's favorite color is blue, let's give her a beautiful blue send-off.